Shut up and sit down.
What's the story, Internet?
Shut up and sit down.
What's the story, Internet? Hope everyone is having a wonderful Monday. I am here to review the weekend's football, and do we have some upsets from this weekend? So I'm going to start with La Liga, because that's the one that I spoke about the least last time out. And the two that I want to speak about are Atletico Madrid 0, Levante 2, which Atletico Madrid have just not been faring well recently. Just in the fact that they drew with Celta Vigo and then drew with Levante and then lost with Levante. And compare that with where they were before. They are now only 3 points ahead of Real Madrid. They were miles ahead of everyone previously, and now they've just sort of fallen a little bit. The other one I want to speak about is Barcelona 1, Cadiz 1. 2 penalties, one from Lionel Messi and one from Alex Fernandez in the Cadiz camp. Barcelona dominated the match, 20 shots to 3, 4 shots on target to 1. So that's not a good shot percentage. That is it going to do the maths for me? No. That's a fifth of their shots were on target. So, and then 82% possession to 18% possession. Now this match, and another match I'm going to get into later, the Crystal Palace-Brighton match, are 2 perfect examples of, say it with me, possession does not win matches. It's all about the score at the end. And so did Barcelona deserve to win this? Probably. Should they have won it? Probably. Did they win it? No. Just because you deserve something doesn't mean you're going to get it. So yeah, 2 relatively big upsets over in La Liga. Going over to Serie A, the big one is, of course, the Milan derby. Inter Milan 3, AC Milan 0. Don't think anyone saw that coming a couple of weeks ago. At least not the nil part on AC Milan's part. I think everyone expected at least a goal or 2, maybe 3-2 or 2-1 or something like that. But yeah, Inter Milan just made them pay. And that means that they are 4 points clear at the top of the table. AC Milan are only 4 points clear of Juventus, and Juventus have a game in hand. It's all falling apart for the black and red side. So yeah, not a good weekend for AC Milan. Great weekend for Inter Milan, but yeah, not a great weekend for AC Milan, unfortunately. Just don't know what happened there. Just something didn't click. So, but they weren't the only team to have an upset, because over in Germany, Eintracht Frankfurt beat Bayern Munich. Now, it's not a huge upset, because Eintracht Frankfurt are relatively high up the table, but even still, did not see Bayern Munich losing points this weekend. And it gave Leipzig a chance to close the gap, so now there's only 2 points at the top of the table. And even Wolfsburg and Frankfurt, there's only 7 points, which for the German league, that's huge. Normally it's a 10, 12, 15, 20, 100 point gap. So another one I just want to speak about, and I don't have it pulled up, just bear with me, was the match in Ligue 1, where Monaco defeated PSG. Now, that's not necessarily a huge deal, because Monaco have been a relatively good side in the past. However, the biggest thing that I want to bring up is that PSG are in 3rd, behind Lille and Lyon. Then it's PSG, then it's Monaco. So not a good showing for PSG at the moment, especially considering that they've got some incredible players in the likes of Mbappe and Neymar. And after what they did to Barcelona, you would expect them to be progressing quite well. But yeah, fair play to Monaco. PSG, another perfect example of the possession thing, 75% to 25%. But if you look at the shots, Monaco had 5 with 3 on target. PSG had 10 shots, but only 1 of them was on target. So just not a good showing from the Parisians. So yeah, so a good result for Monaco. and a good result for Ligue 1 because it shakes things up a bit. Ligue 1 has always been sort of the butt of everyone's jokes, like, oh, PSG's winning again. So I'm glad to see that it's getting back to how it was a couple of years ago, where there was a bit of back and forth with Monaco, Marseille back in the day, teams like that. So, right, on to the Premier League. So, starting with last Friday, we had Wolves 1, Leeds United 0. A good showing from Wolves. Relatively even match, 59% to 41% possession for Leeds' favour. 18 shots to 15 in Leeds' favour, and then 7 on target to 5. So a relatively even match. Fair play to Wolves. Unfortunately, it was an own goal, so Meslier will be very, very disappointed there. In terms of the table, it means that Leeds go 1 point behind Wolves, and Wolves overtake them into 11th. However, Leeds do still have that game in hand. So, can't forget that when talking about the table. Next one, Southampton 1, Chelsea 1. So, not Thomas Tuchel's first game where he dropped points, but this one was a bit more consequential, because the first game, you get a bit of a pass. It's like, you got your new players, you only came in 2 days ago, fair enough. This one, Southampton were leading for quite a while as well, 33rd minute, and then Mason Mount scored a penalty in the 54th. Yet another example, 71% possession to Chelsea to 29% for Southampton. And the South Coasters just kept on holding on. So it means that Chelsea are in 5th on 43 points. Southampton have dropped a bit now, they're in 14th, but they do still have that game in hand, so they could catch up with Wolves based on that game in hand, and if they win that. So yeah, quite a consequential result, although Chelsea do still remain 3 points above Liverpool, for reasons that we'll get into in a moment. Burnley 0, West Brom 0, fairly inconsequential match in terms of highlights anyway. 16 shots total, 4 shots on target total. Burnley had the possession, but not the most exciting of matches. Now, where it is consequential is at the bottom of the table, because it means that Burnley is still only 3 points ahead of Newcastle, where they could have taken the advantage. They're still 2 points behind Southampton, who have a game in hand. And for West Brom, it's not consequential from Sheffield United because they lost, but it's consequential for Fulham because they could have closed the gap on Fulham, and they didn't take that opportunity. So, on to the next one, the Merseyside derby. Liverpool 0, Everton 2. I don't think anyone saw that coming, even with Liverpool's recent bad run of form. I'm just trying to see, there it is. Everton won at Anfield for the first time since 1999. So 22 years they've had to wait for this result. So yeah, quite an incredible result for Everton there. Another example, there's so many examples of this possession thing, I'm not talking out my arse here. 72% possession to Liverpool, 28 to Everton. 15 shots for Liverpool, 9 for Everton, 6 on target respectively for both. Richarlison opening the scoring in the 3rd minute. Everton were miles ahead at that point, and Liverpool were chasing the game. And then Gylfi Sigurdsson finished it off with an 83rd minute penalty. So fair play to the blue half of Merseyside. They will be very, very happy, especially because it puts them level on points with Liverpool, and they have a game in hand. So if they can get something out of the game in hand, they will overtake their neighbours. First time in a very long time without it being alphabetical when the table first comes out. So fair play to Everton there. Next one, Fulham 1, Sheffield United 0. From what I've heard, Sheffield United did not play well. Even in their run of form where they have been losing, they've still been playing relatively well, but this game they just didn't have a good stick of it. So fair play to Fulham. They get closer and closer to surviving. They're only 3 points behind Newcastle now, 4 points behind Brighton, and 6 points behind Burnley. So those teams need to be looking over their shoulder for Fulham. Scott Parker's done quite a good job, considering that he is quite an inexperienced manager. So, but Fulham had the possession, they had the shots on target, and that was all she wrote at the end of the day. Ademola Lookman being quite a good signing for Fulham this season. So fair play to Fulham there. West Ham United 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Jose is in full meltdown at the moment. Tottenham is in full meltdown at the moment. Let's have a look at these statistics. 30% possession for West Ham, 70% for Tottenham. Another example of the possession thing. 4 shots for West Ham, 20 for Tottenham, 4 on target for each. That is ridiculous statistics for these two teams. Especially in the past, Tottenham have traditionally been higher placed than West Ham. So ridiculous statistics. Means that West Ham are still in 4th. They're still in the European places, 2 points ahead of Chelsea. Only 4 points behind Leicester and United. What a turnaround from David Moyes. So fair play to West Ham. Jose's got to figure something out for Spurs because they're just dire at the minute. And not even Eric Dyer, they are just awful. Aston Villa 1, Leicester City 2. So that means that Leicester City continue sticking in second at the moment. Second, third sort of place. They're level on points with Manchester United. Second only on goal difference. Relatively even match, 51 to 49% possession. 16 shots to 11 in Leicester's favour. 7 on target, 2 also in Leicester's favour. James Maddison and Harvey Barnes, who has been a revelation. James Maddison has got his plaudits, don't get me wrong, but Harvey Barnes just sort of came out of nowhere. Not to say that he wasn't talented, but I think if you asked someone last season who the standout youngster of the season was going to be, Harvey Barnes wouldn't have been in the talking. But he's been proving himself day in, day out. So fair play to him, fair play to James Maddison, and fair play to Leicester City, especially because of what Aston Villa has accomplished so far this season. Arsenal 0, Manchester City 1. Raheem Sterling scoring in the 2nd minute, and that was all she wrote. Arsenal did well to get back into it, had a spell especially on either side of half-time where they were going for it and were fighting. Relatively even match, 55 to 45% possession, 15 shots to 7, but only 3 on target to 1 in City's favour. But it means that City do still remain at the top of the table by 10 points over Manchester United and Leicester City. Speaking of Manchester United, they won 3-1 against Newcastle. Marcus Rashford scoring an incredible solo goal, and then Alan Saint-Maximin equalising. Not even being biased, I mean it is kind of biased, but I might post this on my Instagram because I thought it was funny. But it was a picture of Alan Saint-Maximin next to Neil Maupay of Brighton, Alan Pardew of Crystal Palace, and there was another player, I can't remember who it was, and it said, haven't teams realised what happens when you celebrate the opening goal against Manchester United? And this is what happens. Just ask all of them. So this was a match where the possession stats do go in the favour of the winning side. 72 to 28 possession, 15 shots to 10, 7 shots to 6 in favour of Manchester United. Means they do remain in second, as I mentioned before, just ahead of Leicester City on goal difference. Sort of putting the pieces together of what I was talking about earlier, Newcastle are being dragged into that relegation battle now, only 3 points ahead of Fulham, especially after losing to Manchester United, a point behind Brighton and 3 points behind Burnley. Brighton could have been further away, but we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, not a good look for Steve Bruce and Newcastle. So we'll have to see what happens come the end of the season. There was, I think it was the commentators in the Manchester United game were saying that there's a match, I think it's the last day of the season, and it's Newcastle versus Fulham. And they were saying at the beginning of the season, we didn't know how potentially consequential that could be. It could be incredibly consequential for who goes down. If either of those two teams are still within a sniff of staying up, that could be a very important match, and that's the last day of the season. So, last match, we have today's match. And this is the one I was talking about with possession. I didn't realise there were so many other bloody examples that came up. But it's the Crystal Palace versus Brighton match. So Brighton had 75% of the possession to 25%, 25 shots to 3, 5 shots on target to 2, and Crystal Palace won 2-1. Thanks to a Christian Benteke 95th minute goal. I've heard that Mateta's goal, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I've heard that Mateta's goal, sort of a nutmeg round the back into the net, sounds very incredible. So definitely worth checking that one out if you haven't seen it. Just from the reports, I mean, like I said, I haven't watched it, but just from the reports, it sounds amazing. Puts Crystal Palace 6 points ahead of Brighton for now, so they're slowly escaping the relegation zone. But it puts Brighton firmly back into that relegation zone, which is a shame because, like I said, they were winning and they were doing quite well. So yeah, so a lot to talk about from this weekend. So that is my review of the football. I will be back with you either later on this evening or first thing tomorrow morning for a preview, because we have Champions League matches, we have Europa League matches, we have midweek matches. The football never stops. So, but until then, I hope you're all staying safe, keeping out of trouble. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until then, ta-ra for now.